Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good to see everybody again.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll
Hare
start.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We'll start reciting the verses while we're waiting for some more to join. So we usually have our backup reciters, Divya Gaurangi Mataji and Madhu Kumari. But is there anybody else who would volunteer, who would like to recite the verses?
Prabhuji, I would like to read English one.
English, okay. Shabani Mataji will do English. Anybody for Sanskrit? We know we've had no Prabhuji is reciting, right? Except for Sridham Prabhu. Any Prabhuji ready for reciting? Okay, right. If no one is there, then we'll have to go to our tried and trusted Divya Gaurangi Mataji. So Mataji, if you're there, you can please start reciting now. I'll first of all, let me just mute everybody, and you can unmute yourself, then we can start. Okay, Divya Gaurangi Mataji, you can start.
Sure, Prabhuji. I recited yesterday and I'm very happy to do again as serve. But is Madhu Kumari Mataji here? Then because she didn't have a turn, then she can take a turn.
Yeah, I can't see her on the group actually. I don't think she's on today.
Okay.
Okay.
Please accept my humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rajvidya Rajguhya Yoga, Chapter 9, The Most Confidential Knowledge. Ataha Navamo Adhyayaha, 9.1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave gnanam vijnana sahitam yajnatva mokshase subhat.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence.
9.2 Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavāgamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam.
This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed.
9.3 Ashraddha Dhanaha Purusha Dharma Sasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani.
Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world.
9.4 Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitaha.
By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
9.5 Nacha matsthani bhutani pashya me yogamaishwaram bhuta brahnacha bhutastho mamatma bhuta bhavanaha.
And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not the part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation.
9.6 यथाकाश स्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानि उपधारय.
Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere, rest always in the sky. All created beings rest in me.
9.7 सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पदौ विसृजामि अहम्.
O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again.
9.8 प्रकृतिं स्वामवस्थभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्रामम् इमं कृष्णम् अवशं प्राकृतेर्वसात्.
The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
9.9 न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् अशक्तं तेषु कर्मसु.
O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral.
9.10 मयाध्यक्षेण प्राकृतिः सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
9.11 अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मनुष्यं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावम् अजानन्तो मम भूतमहेश्वरम्.
Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be.
9.12 मोघशा मोघकर्माणो मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः राक्षसीम् असुरीं चैव प्राकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रितः.
Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated.
9.13 महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्राकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्ति अनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्.
O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
9.14 सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रतः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते.
Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
9.15 ज्ञानयज्ञेन चापि अन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form.
9.16 अहं क्रातुरहं यज्ञः स्वदाहम् अहम् औषधम् मन्त्रोऽहम् अहमेवाज्यम् अहम् अग्निरहं हुतम्.
But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering.
9.17 पिताहम् अस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कार ऋक्सामायजुरेव च
I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajurvedas.
9.18 गतिर्भर्ता प्रभुः साक्षी निवासः शरणं शुहत् प्रभावः प्रलयः स्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम्
I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed.
9.19 तपामि अहमहं वर्षं निघ्रणामि उत्सृजामि च अमृतं चैव मृत्युश्च सत् असच्चाहमर्जुन
O Arjuna, I give heat, and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me.
9.20 त्रैविद्यमां सोमपापूतपापा यज्ञेरिक्ष्वा स्वर्गतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यमासाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोकम् अस्नान्ति दिव्यान् दिवि देव भोगान्
Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indira, where they enjoy godly delights.
9.21 ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशान्ति एवं त्रयीधर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते
When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek the sense enjoyment by adhering to the principle of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
9.22 अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्
But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
9.23 येऽपि अन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्वितः तेऽपि माम् एव कौन्तेय यजन्ति अविधिपूर्वकम्
Those who are devotees of other gods and those who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way.
9.24 अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च्यवन्ति ते
I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down.
9.25 यान्ति देवव्रता देवान् पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रतः भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्या यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम्
Those who worship the demigods will take birth among demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me.
9.26 Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti ubharatam ashnami prayatatmanah.
If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
9.27 Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam.
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
9.28 शुभाशुभफलैरेवं मोक्ष्यसे कर्मबन्धनै संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो माम् उपैष्यसि.
In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me.
9.29 समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेष्योऽस्ति न प्रियः य भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चापि अहम्.
I envy no one, nor I am partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend in me, and I am also a friend to him.
9.30 अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यक् व्यवसितो हि सः.
Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly and because he is properly situated in his determination.
9.31 क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति.
He quickly become righteous and attain lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
9.32 मां हि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास् तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्.
O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
9.33 किं पुनर्ब्रह्मणः पुण्या भक्ता राजरसयस्तथा अनित्यम् अशुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम्.
How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotee and the saintly king. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me.
9.34 मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु माम् एवैष्यसि युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः.
Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me.
ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे राजविद्या राजगुह्ययोगो नाम नवमो अध्यायः. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Prabhuji.
Very
Hare Krishna.
nice.
Thank
you.
Diva Gaurangi Mataji and Shadani Mataji, both of you recited so beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So we will now go to the main verse and recite that. Today we will be focusing on 9:12. Yesterday we did 9:11, so 9:12 today. Let me share that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9, The Most Confidential Knowledge, Text 12. Mogasha Moga Karmano Moga Jnana Vichetasha Raksha Rakshashim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Shitaha. The translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart they do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as their absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material engagement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheist. As described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. Their attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. Such persons' cultivation of knowledge in Vedic literature, like the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, is always baffled. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. In the Brihad Vishnu Smriti clearly states, Yo veti bhautikam deham Krishnasya paramatmana sa sarvasmad bahiskarya shrauta smarta vidhanataha mukham tasya yalokyapi cha sachelam snanam acharet. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out of all ritual activities of Shruti and Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of the infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let me just stop share this and let me go to the presentation. So chapter 9, just a quick recap. Text 1 to 3, knowledge and eligibility. Text 4 to 10, Krishna's Achinta Bheda Bhed, relationship with the material world. And this current section we started yesterday, 11:25, fools neglect bhakti, the divine don't. Yesterday's verse was about fools deride me when I descend in the human form. And now, in the text 12, Krishna now explains what happens to those who are in bewilderment and they disrespect Krishna's form. The verse we already recited, so we recite just to remind ourselves of the translation. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and that culture of knowledge is all defeated. So, just as we said yesterday, we'll try and just look at some of the Sanskrit pronunciations so we can learn as we go. So Moga, Sha. So again, you can see the R, the two R's there. So it's not Asa, but Moga, Moga, Sha. And S with a tick on top means Sha, not Sa. Moga, Karmano. Now this is an interesting one. The N with a dot underneath is a soft ana, soft na. So I know in Gujarati we have ana. A lot of the Gujarati people, Gujarati speakers on this group will know that we have the pronunciation ana. I believe in Hindi, the ana doesn't exist. Can somebody confirm that? Does the soft ana, like na and then ana?
It exists.
It does, yeah? Could you give me an example of a Hindi word with ana?
Shanik. Shanik means momentum,
yes.
for a moment.
Yeah. I always wondered because you know what, for example, in Gujarati we say pani with a soft na, and of course in Hindi we say pani and stuff like that. So I haven't heard ana, but you're right. Yes, it does exist. But of course, so this ana. So when we read this verse, we don't say karma no. The Western people don't have the ana, so they will say karma no. Of course, there's no harm. You pronounce it as best as you can. But my request is that for us Indians who understand the difference between the na and the ana, we should pronounce it properly and say karmano. And where for example in the next line where he says jnana, there is no ana, so there's not jnana, but that's jnana. Whereas karmano or karmana, so that ana, and that ana, when you actually pronounce that ana, it actually sounds quite nice. It sounds very nice, that particular word when you pronounce it. The other interesting word here is jnana. Jnana. So when we actually, if we have to write jnana, somebody said to us, write jnana, I would write G-Y-A-N-A. Jnana. That's how it sounds to me, and that's how we normally just pronounce it. We can pronounce it jnana or gnana. Both are correct, right? But here there's a use of the word J instead of G. So actually in Sanskrit, although we do say gyan and gnan, which are both also accepted, but actual pronunciation is a soft j, is jnana. When you hear some Sanskrit scholar, like for example, if you hear Kartik Chandra normally speak about gnana, he will not say gnana, he will say jnana, very soft jnana. So that is just technical, because most of us will say jnana, and there's no need to change. Let's stick with it. It's just for our information. Yeah, the rest is straightforward. So we'll carry on like this, and we'll keep learning about this these pronunciations. So here it is said that so those who are bewildered are attracted by the modern atheist views. In the delusion, their hopes are liberated, and the culture, knowledge, everything is defeated. So basically, if we are not awake to Krishna consciousness, we will be awake to Maya. This is reality. You cannot be in between. You will be either in Krishna consciousness or you will be in Maya. Of course, there's a transition period where we are practicing sadhakas and we'll have a little bit of both. But generally speaking, it is said that if you're not in Krishna consciousness, Maya will grab you. Prabhupada often quotes this Bengali verse. I'm not sure where the origin is, but he quotes it quite often. He says, Krishna buliya jeev bhogavacha kare, pashate maya tare japote adhare. Which means Krishna buliya, if the jiva, when he forgets Krishna and starts bhogavacha, starts to just focus on material enjoyment, then pashate maya tare japote adhare. Maya will grab you. So if you're not in Krishna consciousness, then Maya will grab us, and then we find it difficult to come back. Let's look at the main points of the purport, as we usually do. The Prabhupada writes, many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. Oh, right. So here, this reminds me of a question. I think the very first question that we got yesterday, I forget who it was. It was a Mataji who asked this question about what if somebody is doing the four regulative principles, who is following Ekadashi and chanting the rounds, or something like that. And I think the conclusion was that yes, all that is very, very good, but the main point is the consciousness. That we have to have the consciousness in Krishna, and we have to have our aim to be developing love for Krishna. So that is important. The rituals and sticking to the regulative principles, of course, is very important because that will help us to get to our goal. But our goal is not just to remain in that. So this particular line, Prabhupada is actually emphasizing that the heart, if your heart doesn't accept that Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, then of course you have not made progress yet. And this reminds me of one time a few months ago when we all used to go to the temple. We were in the prasadam queue in the evening, and I happened to be behind a couple of devotees in front of me, and there was one of them who I see regularly, very enthusiastically dancing in the kirtan 7 o'clock aarti, and always see him as a very nice devotee. And he was speaking to his friend. Myself and Padmamalini were there, who just happened to be overhearing the conversation. We were not part of the conversation. And other person was saying, but he obviously was a little bit newer. He was saying, but here they just talk about Krishna, and they don't actually talk about any other gods that we talk about. And this person actually was saying to him, yes, of course, this is Krishna temple, and they will talk about Krishna. But he says, but anyway, we understand that, everybody is equal, and Krishna is just one of the avatars. So you see, he was seemingly in Krishna consciousness, obviously chanting his rounds, dancing in the kirtan enthusiastically. So on the face of it, seemed like a person who really was in Krishna consciousness. But just by overhearing that discussion, I realized that his consciousness was not, he did not accept Krishna as an absolute truth. So this is what I mean. Prabhupada often says, just by putting tilak on, and putting dhoti on, you don't become a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is actually a change of consciousness. So then the question may be asked, why do they not accept Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead? So his first answer is that they think that, like this particular devotee was saying, they think that he is one of many gods. So generally people believe that Hinduism is a religion of many gods. And there's a term for that. Can anybody come up with a term? Belief in many gods?
Polytheism.
Very good. Actually, who said that? I didn't get the name.
Rajesh.
Rajesh Prabhu, thank you very much. So we have some wonderful scholars on the group. Very nice to know that. So polytheism, that is worship of many gods, seemingly. And if you actually look at a typical Hindu altar, you will see something like this. This obviously happens to be sometime when they're offering Chapan Bhog or something. I just picked this picture up. This is not my altar. I picked it up from the net. So you can see they've got Radha Krishna there in the center very nicely. They've got Sita Ram, Lakshmana, Hanuman. They've got Lord Krishna again here. They've got Lord Shiva here. They've got Shiv Parvati here. So everything's going on, right? And this is what the typical altar is. And this is why people generally believe, the Westerners certainly believe that Hinduism is about many, many gods. And funny enough, a lot of Hindus also would probably agree with this. But actually, the religions like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they believe in a single God. And what is the term for that?
Monotheism.
Monoth, very good. Thank you, Mataji. Monoth, single God, meaning monotheism. So these are the two types that we know. So we actually, when you really understand Hinduism, we know that it is not polytheism, nor is it monotheism. So Hinduism is a belief of many gods, yet there is one supreme God amongst all the many gods. So this is the belief of, actually really, if people understand this is the belief. Many Hindus also will believe that there are many gods and everything, but actually the reality is that Hinduism, the belief is that there are many gods. Now, you just notice my use of the word G, the letter G. So there are many gods, and I'm not using capital there, but one supreme God, I use the capital there. So this is how. So the many gods can be described, can be written as a lower G or as demigods, as we sometimes normally say, right? So the supreme God called Krishna, he comes in many different forms to perform his pastimes, and he reciprocates with his devotees. So again, somebody remind me, please, of the verse in the 4th chapter about Krishna's appearance, why he comes. 4:8. Hare Krishna.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir
The one after that.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya
Absolutely.
Chatustam dharma sanstapana.
Yeah. So Paritranaya. So he comes. So he comes here. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya duskritam. So Paritranaya sadhum. So he's actually, he doesn't need to come to vinashaya duskritam, because to vinash the duskritas, he can do it just with just a blink of an eye. He doesn't have to appear. But really, he mainly appears here for Pranitāraya sadhunam, to please his devotees or to save his devotees. So this is why he really comes, and comes in different forms to play his pastimes, to please his devotees. Prabhupada uses this people who hear Prabhupada's lectures will have come across this many times. This is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetanam eko bahunam yo vidadati kama. So nityo nityanam. So nitya. So the nitya means there are many eternal beings. And chetana chetanas chetanam. So there are also many conscious beings. But eko bahunam. So of all those eternal beings, there is one supreme eternal being. And of all the conscious beings, there is one supreme conscious being who is actually fulfilling the needs of all other beings. And this is how the Supreme Lord is described. So he is one, he is not many. But he, in the form of demigods or in the form of jivas, in the form of demigods rather, he is supplying all the needs of the jivas, and in his own form he comes to save them from the material world. So this is not polytheism, as less intelligent people think about it. So what is the term for what we're looking at? What anybody know what the term is for the Vaishnava belief of it's not polytheism, it's not monotheism. There's a beautiful term that acharyas give us, English term. So we call polymorphic monotheism.
Oh my.
This is the actual term for what we are practicing. So it's polymorphic, which means there's monotheism in the sense that yes, there's one Lord, but it's polymorphic. That one personality, he expands into many for various pastimes and for various activities. So this is the term of what we are practicing. And Prabhupada continues in the purport, they are engaged in fruitive, pious activities and ultimately hoping to be liberated. But they mock Krishna and deride Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. So you see, most Hindus, they will be focusing on fruitive activities and pious activities. And there is Purusharthas, there's 4 Purusharthas. Can anybody name what they are, the 4 Purusharthas? And they are the goals of human society according to Vedic systems.
Like Artha, Dharma, and there's 2 others as well. I can't remember them.
Yeah, wonderful.
Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for starting us off, Luka Prabhu. Yes, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So all Vedic, and if all followers of Vedic religions these are their duties. So basically, they become, so Dharma means righteousness. So they will try, first of all, their first duty as a human being, following the Vedic culture, is to become righteous. And then, in a righteous way, you earn wealth. So that's called artha. So you don't use illegitimate ways, not illegal ways, but you use righteous ways to earn your wealth. Once you've accumulated wealth, then karma. Then you use your wealth to enjoy your desires. So moksha, so dharma, artha, kama. Then finally, when they're disgusted with all the enjoyment and they realize that actually there is no real fulfillment in all this material self-gratification, then they seek moksha. So this is the Vedic civilization generally. But then there is something called the Pancham Purushartha, which the Vaishnavas follow. And what is that? Anybody know? Pancham Purushartha is bhakti. So see here, bhakti, you may confuse dharma and bhakti, but not necessarily the same. Dharma doesn't necessarily have to include bhakti. So when we're talking about dharma, dharma could be just righteous living. Somebody is a good person, he gives in charity, he looks after everybody, he feeds the poor. All those, he opens hospitals. These are all righteous activities. But he may not be doing bhakti. So the Vaishnavas believe in the Pancham Purushartha, bhakti, because dharma, artha, kama, moksha, fair enough, if you are successful in that process, the moksha, the kind of moksha you will then get is likely to be impersonal moksha. You're going to get the moksha, which, as we know, there are 5 kinds of mokshas, or 5 kinds of liberations. Sayujya mukti, salokya mukti, samipya mukti, sarupya, and shashti. So you can obtain the mukti of becoming one with the Lord, which really means merging into the Brahmajyoti. That is Sayujya mukti. So that is what generally people in this Vedic system they would achieve. So as devotees, we know that we really don't want that. Srila Prabhupada calls that spiritual suicide. We don't want the impersonal mukti. We want to be there. We want mukti in the sense of we want to participate in Lord Krishna's pastimes and be with him in the spiritual world, in the other kinds of muktis. So this is that. And then he says, Prabhupada says, as this is described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. So this is 7:15, which 7 chapter we did a few weeks ago. Anybody remember this verse? Namam duskrutina muda prapadyante naradama maya ya partha jnana ashuram bhavam asrit. So very well, this verse is quite similar to that verse, and the verse we're doing today is very similar to 7:15. In fact, if you actually look at the whole of chapter 9, it is quite similar. You will find quite a lot of parallels between chapter 7 and chapter 9. So in this verse, in that 7:15, Krishna was saying, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest amongst mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheist nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So Prabhupada is just reminding us of that verse in the purport here. So everyone wants to be more powerful than the other person. This is generally the nature of human beings. So their mental mental speculations about the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and God are one and the same. They think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from the material body, there's no difference between him and God. I am God. This is the view. I am God. This is the demoniac nature when they feel that they listen to this impersonal philosophy that yes, we are all God, but we are just covered temporarily. Once our covering is gone, then we are same as God. So this is something that they believe. And this is because Ishvara Bhava, this is what generally people have. People in the mode of passion, they have the Ishvara Bhava, wanting to control everything and everything around them. So this Ishvara Bhava gives them this very foolish ultimate notion that I am God, that ultimately I am God, but there's no difference between me and God. And this is why Prabhupada then continues in that purport to say that for such persons, cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedic literature, like Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, is always baffled. Now, because they think I am God, and if you look at the Vedic literature like Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, they are ultimately all the Vedas try to bring you to the conclusion to love God, to understand, to know Krishna, to know the Supreme Lord. The 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, Vedesya sarve aham eva vedyo. So all the Vedas are there ultimately to know me, Krishna is saying. But then, if your mood is that I am God, then you're not going to know Krishna as he is. You will know him as, yes, he is God, but I'm also going to be him one day. You see, the wrong notion. So this is the kind of mentality people have, and it's always that I want to be stronger and stronger. I want to ultimately go to, first I want to control my family. Then I want to control people at my workplace. Then I want to try and control people in my area, in my vicinity, maybe by becoming an MP or somebody or a councillor. Then I want to try and control the country. Then I want to try and control the world. Then I want to try and control God. I want to become God and control the whole universe. So, whole creation rather. So this is the kind of bhava people have. And there's a beautiful story that Prabhupada often talks about how people's mentality is to become stronger and stronger. So this is the story Prabhupada calls Punara Mushtika Bhava. Some of you may have heard this. So this is, Prabhupada says there was a very, very exalted sadhu sitting under a tree in the forest meditating. And then suddenly when he opens his eyes, he sees a mouse sitting in front of him, just staring at the sadhu. And these sadhus are exalted. They have all these different siddhis. So one of the siddhis that the sadhu had was he could actually understand animal language. So he asked the mouse, "What do you want?" So the mouse says, I'm in a lot of trouble. The cats always chase me, and I don't like that. I want to not to be chased. I want to be more powerful. So sadhu says, "Okay, what do you want?" He says, "Okay, make me a cat so that they don't chase me anymore." So sadhu says, "Tathastu." So suddenly the mouse becomes a cat, and then he goes away happily. Then a few days later, there's a cat sitting in front of him, looking very sad. The sadhu opens his eyes and says, "What now?" He says, "I've become a cat, but the dogs keep chasing me. So what do you want to do? Okay, please make me a dog." So the sadhu says, "Tathastu." The cat turns into a god, goes away. Once again, a few days later, comes back. The dog is sitting there, sad face. Sadhu says, "What do you want to do now?" "Oh, the tigers in the forest are always chasing me. Make me a tiger." Okay, Tathastu. He becomes a tiger. And as soon as he's become a tiger, of course, the power of the tiger, the nature of tiger takes over. And he starts snarling at the sadhu. So the sadhu says, "What do you want now?" He says, "I want to eat you." The tiger is not ready to eat you. And as soon as he says that, the sadhu says, "Tathastu punara mushtika bhava." Mushtika means bhava. Punara mushtika bhava. Mushtika means mouse. So punara, once again, become a mouse. So this is the story of all the passionate people who just want to be bigger and bigger than everybody else. So it's a nice story. Prabhupada then talks about the destiny of such deluded persons. They take shelter of the material energy and are attracted by demonic and aesthetic views. So they take shelter, they never surrender to Krishna, never taste the fruit of devotional service, they never get love of God, or never get to go back to Godhead because of this power. Birth after birth, they appear in demonic species of life. Their real knowledge remains under delusion. They gradually regress to the darkest regions of creation. And there's a beautiful verse in the 14th chapter which talks about this. It says, "Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhyatishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha." Beautiful translation. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upwards in the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So these deluded personalities are either in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. So their future is bleak by just going by this verse. So it's already 37 minutes past 8. There's a couple of more slides, but we will stop here, respect time. And I will now open for any comments, any corrections, any realizations, please. Thank you. I'll just unmute everybody.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Prabhuji, would you please explain what is Pancham Purushartha?
Yeah, so as we know, there's a 4 Purushartha. The 4 Purushas are Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And this is what generally the Vedic followers follow. But beyond those 4, the Vaishnavas go beyond that and follow the Pancham Purushastra, which is Bhakti. As I was explaining, Dharma, in terms of the Vedic rituals, doesn't necessarily involve Bhakti. Bhakti means devotion service. Dharma is just basically ritualistic rituals or living a righteous life.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
so when Vaishnavas, as a Vaishnavas, we don't believe in Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha?
Oh, yes, we do. But our focus is to go
Bhakti,
beyond that
yes.
to Bhakti. Yes.
Okay.
We accept the Vedic principles, and we also, of course, unless Puja Mataji, unless we are righteous, unless we are dharmic, we will not come to the form of Bhakti. So yes, everything begins there. But then we don't focus so much on Artha and Kama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our focus is Bhakti.
Okay. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
So,
Rajesh Prabhu.
so what should be your approach when you meet people who are atheistic or of demonic nature? I mean, as I understand, one should walk away, not associate with them. But what if you don't have a choice and you are, you know,
Okay.
because if someone in your family is like that, for that
Yes,
matter?
exactly. Very, very nice question. Thank you, Rajesh Prabhu. So first of all, when we say walk away, I would say, and the acharyas would say that no, don't walk away, because as devotees, we need to give them association. Because if devotees don't give them association, how will they ever come to devotion service? So we don't walk away. What we walk away from, though, is people who are actually animal, actually very, what's the word? Agnostic. If they're agnostic, and they are likely to blaspheme the Lord. You know, you will meet people, generally speaking, people in your family, our friend circle, they're not that bad. So if in that situation, if they just need to understand the path of bhakti, to need to understand about the Supreme Lord, you can gently start to say, explain to them and start preaching to them. There's no harm in doing that. But a person who starts to blaspheme the Lord, then you need to walk away from that. That is the ninth offense. Can anybody name the ninth offense?
Not to preach to the people who are atheists, who do not believe in Krishna.
Yes. So more accurately, that ninth offense is to explain the details of devotional service to the non-devotees, to non-believers, right? So now why? Because they will offend. If they start blaspheming Krishna, then we are making them commit big offenses against Krishna and his devotees. So we are doing them a disservice. So rather than that, we walk away. But otherwise, we should definitely be speaking whatever knowledge we have. We should be explaining to them. Depending on our strength, we can really convert them. We can convince them, bring them to the temple, and get them into the habit of associating with devotees. And that way, they will gradually make progress. And this is our duty. Every Vaishnava. What does Prabhupada, what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Bharata Bhumite Haila Janma, Bharata Bhumile. How does it go, anybody? Bharata Bhumile Haila Janma
Bhumite hoilo janma jar, janma sakshatkar kari karo.
Exactly. So anybody who was born in India, this particular verse talks about being born in India. But I would say no. Anybody who was born in a Vedic family, in an Indian family, it is our duty. Janma sarthak kari kara para upakar, which means you first of all establish yourself in Krishna consciousness, and then explain it, try and save the world around you. We can't save the whole world, but at least save the people around you from gross ignorance. Does it make sense, Rajesh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So, in terms of face value and presuming somebody has got demoniac qualities, I'm just wondering, would we be sort of premature in judging someone? Because, based on Vritrasura's pastime, who was superficially presenting demoniac qualities, but happened to be the devotee of the Lord. So how would that work then for us?
Yeah, nice question. Yeah, so it's a very much a question of judgment here. I would normally start speaking, and I must admit, in my life, in my association of many people, I have not met probably just one person I can think of who I regretted speaking to about Krishna. He started to say very derogatory things about Krishna and devotees. So apart from that, generally speaking, you will not meet people like that actually, because people are generally quite mature about these things. But yes, to answer your question directly, it is a judgment situation. We can't know from face, like I was saying earlier. If you put on a tilak and kurta and dhoti, doesn't make you a devotee. Similarly, somebody who may be dressed in jeans and maybe tattoos on his hands and whatever you can think of, looks like a real ruffian, you don't necessarily write him off. Like when we go on book distribution, as we all know, we have some amazing surprises, right? When we see somebody who's on, let me just mute here, somebody. when we see somebody who is seemingly looking very nice and you think he will take a book, he will insult you out of the blue. And somebody who you think is very rough. A few years ago, myself and my wife, Malini, we were in Ruislip, East Coast, we were distributing. And we looked at this house and we saw this person go in, and this person sort of looked like quite a rough character. So my wife actually said, no, let's not go, let's not knock that door. You saw the look of that person. So I said, no, our duty as book distributors is to knock on every door. They take it or not, it doesn't really matter. Let's just knock on the door. So we knocked on the door, and the person, when he opened the door, he looked quite scary actually, but I still went through the process, and as we were trained, and I explained to him that we are here, we are monks, we're trying to distribute books and all that. And he listened to me, and then he went back in the house very silently. I thought, I don't know what he's going to do. He came back, and he gave me a donation. He gave me a £5, and he said, I don't want any books, but just take a donation. So you see how I mean. So okay, in the end, I did give him a book because he gave me the Lakshmi. But the point here is that if we had left that house alone, he would have not had the mercy, because by using his Lakshmi for Krishna, he got Agnata Sukriti, which he wouldn't have got. So we can't judge like that. So when he comes to speaking to people, we can start talking to them, and very quickly we can realize, like I did with this other person, where he started to laugh and started to say funny things, and then you just backtrack. You just stop. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Hema Mataji. Time is it? 47. So it's 2 minutes over time. So thank you so much for everybody. Thank you, Divya Gauranga Mataji and Shabani Mataji, for wonderful recitations. Please take care of yourselves and pray for everybody to be well. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Amila Ben.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Smita Mataji. Hare Krishna, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Vinay Prabhu, so nice to see you. Long time no see. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So nice to see you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If I was at the temple, I'd be giving you a hug now.
Thank you very much.
But now, now from now on, even the hugs will have to be virtual.
Exactly. You'll have to be distance hug.
Distance hugging, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Smita Mataji. How are you?
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Bharat Bhai.
Bharat Bhai, so nice to hear from you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hello, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Pramila Mataji. So nice to have you on the call. Pramila Mataji, we miss you on Wednesdays. I know that you are probably on this call on Wednesdays. So it's fine.
Yes.
As long as you are on studying Bhagavad Gita, that's fine. But we do miss you on our Wednesday calls.
Thank you. I will try to come back again.
But don't worry. Either way, you're in good company. So don't worry.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Ashok and family. Ashok Jogya is on mute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Srila Mataji. Hare Krishna. Go on, you will say something, Srila Mataji?
Yes, question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I work in a pharmacy.
Yeah. Go on.
Gujarati, and she's suffering from anxiety, and she said for last few weeks she's coming again tomorrow to see me. So I was thinking of my internet is not very good. Can you hear me, or is it breaking?
We heard parts of the questions. You were saying she's coming back tomorrow, and you're thinking of
Gifting her a Gita.
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Now, she said to me today, she wakes up at 6 in the morning and then she doesn't know what. So I don't really want to that she can read Gita in bed without having her shower. What would your advice be, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So ideally you should be, because Bhagavad Gita is Krishna himself, Krishna's words. So you should be doing it after shower. But you know something, I feel in this state, you can tell her that, look, eventually you should get into the habit of doing it after shower, but initially no harm, start reading it, because by reading Bhagavad Gita, she will get the purification automatically. So she should not, because you should not stop her, because just by, if that is going to be a barrier and she doesn't read because of that, that's not good. So give her the information that it should be done after shower, but it doesn't matter if you start in the beginning, you're not in the habit of having shower early, so you can read it. Right?
Yeah, because of the lockdown, I don't know which temple she goes to or anything, because I only met her a few times at the pharmacy. So I'll give her our Bhaktivedanta Manor site as well, if she wants to join in at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
And I think it helps her.
Yes, that would really help her. Ask her also to join the classes if she can. She can hear the katha. That would be very nice. Ask her to join these sessions if she can on 7:45. That would really help her.
Yeah. She's coming to see me this week. She came today. She's coming to. I'll speak to her tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then of course ask her to just even if just one round to chant the names of the Lord. That will really calm her down. Just say this Mahamantra. It actually gives you peace. Just give, if you have a mantra card, just give it to her and say, just chant this mantra. Even if in the beginning she doesn't chant a full round, just chant this mantra when you wake up, and that will give you a lot of peace of mind.
It will help her.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll close the call now. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.